You can't predict when it will happen when you know this is what I want to do. On the very rarest of occasions, it can happen on a bike ride through Burgundy. So why don't you tell me where we are on this spectacular day and how the journey here?
So where we are right now is we are in the Petaluma Gap that runs from Tamales to Bodega. And because of that gap, what happens is the warm air in the San Pablo Bay sucks all of that cold Pacific Ocean in. And that breeze that we have going through here, even though it's 98 degrees outside right now, is cooling us down. And we're at Roberts Road Vineyards and Giacomo Family Vineyards.
How did you fall in love with Pinot Noir?
1995, cycling through Burgundy, France, and that's when I fell in love with Pinot Noir.
See, that normally just sounds like folklore. I was cycling through Burgundy, but you actually were cycling through
I
Burgundy.
was, and I actually dislocated my shoulder at the same time.
Okay.
So, and because of that, I met the mayor of Morgon, and got to taste his private wines, and that's when I first fell in love with Pinot Noir and Chardonnays in Burgundy.
And so walk me through how you got started and some of the label design and what everything means to you.
So I saw what was happening with CSAs after living in Sonoma for a while, and I belonged to a couple of CSAs. And I noticed that it wasn't happening in the wine business.
Okay.
And in farming and in wine, it is very capital intense.
Oh, sure.
Right? So I said, well, how do I get to the end game? Because it's several years when you have wine in bottle, or when you have wine in barrel to bottle and you have a product to release. How do I get there?
Right.
I was one of the people that did not leave technology with sacks of cash. You do that, you buy a winery.
Okay.
If you don't do that, you start from the bottom, like
Right.
what I did. And I just encouraged friends and family and friends of friends to say, okay, this is what my wine is going to be like. And I had these little, what I called home Tupperware-esque parties where I took some wines that I made in Bordeaux, and I made a wine in, I made a Zinfandel in Healdsburg in 2011. I took those wines and some wines that came out of here that was going to emulate the style of wine that I was going to produce. And I basically just went on a roadshow. And I said, okay, I'm an engineer, but I got to be a sales guy for a while. So I just went out there and said, okay, this is what it's going to be like, and a lot of people came along for the ride.
That's fantastic. And so when you said this is the wine, the type of wine I'm going to make, what is that stylistically to you? What are you after?
Restraint and balance. So I pick a little earlier than everyone else. I tend to be the first or anywhere from the first, second, or third pick that San Giacomo does. When the fruit's ripe, but not overripe.
And I also like there's 4 elements that are transparent in your label, but for people that don't know exactly what you're tracking, it may not mean anything to them, but it certainly is important attributes of the wine that vintage. So
yeah,
walk us through that.
Exactly. So because I'm asking for people to do a little leap of faith and a little bit of trust, so I want to have that authenticity and transparency to give back. And what I do is everything on my website is fully transparent. Everything I do, any additive that goes into the wine is in the website. Fermentation charts, everything is out there for people to see. So I'm out here just about every week. But while I'm out here doing that, I'm also tracking the 4 major weather elements that affect the growing season, which is temperature, sunlight, humidity, and wind. And if you track those from the growing season, each one of those creates a curve. If you put those curves together, it creates a shape. If you spin that shape, it's a gilda shape pattern, or remember when we were kids, we had these spirographs, right? If you create a spirograph of that shape, it creates the pattern that's on the front label. So every year that changes, because what you're actually looking at through the label, through the laser cutting of the label, is the growing season from that vintage.
Excellent. Let's taste one of the vintages.
Excellent.
Perfect. I think more people need to take a bike ride through Burgundy. We're ecstatic that Rodney did, as his wines are something to behold. Thank you so much for all your support.